What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Hopefully everybody's doing all right. Today we're talking about Ableton and Move. And we're going to talk about some workflow ideas. We're going to talk about Midi. We're going to talk about Elektron gear, right? I do have the manual pulled up. So today is definitely a learning education day. Some of the new features of Move, trying to get the beta for 1.5 right now too, because there's a lot of talk about the new updates and Midi and them fixing a lot of problems. And today I'm going to cover some of the problems that I've realized with the device, and which has led me to, I don't know, use it a very specific way, I'm going to call it, right? And when I say a specific way, I mean like, in an ideal situation, a device could take Midi in and out. You can do it either way. But in this world, it's only going to be giving Midi out. And I don't know if this is because of the software. I don't know if this is because of the update. I don't know if it's because of Elektron. I've gotten it to follow some teenage engineering stuff. Like when I run the OPXY out into it, it works. But I don't know what message it's sending that these other things aren't sending, right? So workflow-wise, what I've noticed, some of the changes. There's our piano, and they've actually laid the grid out in force now, like the move, or like the push, and we were all surprised when this first came out that it didn't even have that. So number one, that's one big part of this update 1.4 that I've been like really into. I've always been slicing and chopping and doing things like that with it, so I think the slice chop feature has always been good. So I don't know, when someone told me, oh, it slices now, and I was like, well, didn't it always slice? But that might be just me, right? And a lot of times in my workflow, or the way that I make music, I've been real hesitant to get Move involved. And there's a couple reasons why. When I use Move, a lot of people's like, well, it's a sketch pad. Well, that's true. And there's like scenes and different things that happen inside of the Move that I can typically sit in front of it and be pretty occupied, I would call it, right? And same with Elektron. And when I start crossing, what happens is the lack of these always being the same filter or whatever, ADSR, and where this I have pages that are actually marked for the synthesis. I prefer synthesis on the Digitone, and I prefer samples on this device. But some of the quality of the samples, let's say, you know, you wanted a decent grand piano minus the computer, right? So sometimes when I just want a nice minor chord and a piano, this will suit, and I can use this as a couple sounds. So the thing I was going to talk about today maybe is some of the sounds I like to use, how I get there, and how I start making a track, right? Now, this guy is typically either an 808 or a DR110. So the drum machine itself is definitely, I cheat and I use like the same drum machines over and over. So if you notice that my drum sounds are the way I sound, yeah, it's because that's what I like to use, right? And similar with this guy is that any of the drum machines, it's great because there are all the electronic kits. So if like I want just a 606, right, with the 808, I can like mix that, or 707. That's kind of my favorite go-to one on this because it's so, I know which one it is, right? The 909's the same way. There's a couple other ones. I'm trying to think. Yeah, this one feels really classic too. It's kind of like a 808 909 combo. So I just usually pick like a decent electro drum machine, right? And when it comes to bass, you got to watch because some of theirs are just these ported that eat up a lot of your mix, where I'm more into FME or just, and you can get it there, you know? So you got to kind of like dial back the filter a lot of times, right? And then Some of the synths aren't too bad. Nice and clean, right? Kind of like an Oberheim, right? Right. And so the other thing that's really cool about this device is that it does these really nice mallets. So if you notice, if you've owned this or you played with it, a lot of the mallets inside of this, I think it has some decent. All right, and typically in my process, if you've seen me make music before, you've seen this before, but I start with the drum. Usually I pick something like a hi-hat, and usually when I pick a tempo, I just pick the hi-hat like that, right? And so this gives me what I call a metronome, so that immediately people can start thinking, where is this kind of going, right? And this machine, I could quickly pick other drums, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to show you it on the Move, and then I'll show you how I kind of fall into the rest of the devices. And I didn't do the modular today on purpose, because I didn't want this to be like this crazy thing that was really hard to understand, right? So on the Move, kick. So now I'm picking, like, it's a break beat, right? Just super simple, right? And a lot of times for me, this clears the air if I want to write my bass line, right? So when you're like, well, how does he write a bass line? Or how do you conceptualize that, right? The idea that when I'm thinking of music theory and I'm sitting down and I'm like, okay, this is the key I'm in. Let's get something that I'll actually write that everybody can see. Okay. So the idea that when I'm thinking of like a bass line, I'm going to pick a key. So I'll be like key signature, and this says C minor. So that's E flat major, right? So if I'm in, E flat major, right? Usually it's like C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, flat, C, right? And so it's kind of how my brain thinks. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. So this is 6 and this is 7. All right. So if I'm thinking in progression world, you know, I might pick something super easy. And I'm going to go to a piano, because honestly, keyboards, I'm very into just super simple. Like, I like writing with like a Wurlitzer or something, you know? Right. So that's a 6 chord, right? No, is it? There's your 6, right? 3, 2, 6, right? So right now, this is just me trying to get like a quick idea. So now live recording, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4. So there we go. Okay, so some chords, and I quantized it. And also I can make sure that the volume of that track isn't too crazy, right? And here comes a bass, 4, 3, and 2 bars of that, quantize a little bit. And now, again, it's really loud, the bass. So I'm going to turn that track down. So the trick here in Move World is that your volume knob, if you hold a track, you actually can adjust just the volume of that track. And you'll see track volume, right? It's just like having a mixer. It's hidden, but it's there. And then, and again, so now I'm just like bass and keys with the drums, right? And this is on our first scene. So inside of Move, you get scenes. It's like OPXY. In the Elektron world, that's called a pattern. So in Elektron, we call that a pattern. And there's banks of patterns. So I'm on E1 right now, right? And so patterns are what you call it on this guy. There's 32 songs on this machine here, where this is more infinite. You have way more space on these guys, so we will not get into that. That's one thing that's there's not a lot of places to save your work here. There's only 32 slots, let's call it, or not 32, what is it? 8 and 4. I guess that is right. There's 32 slots to save your work, you know? And so these are a little more prolific in how you save, where I think with the Move, you got to get more, you got to write better songs. You know, you got to be picky and choosy, right? All right, so right now we have drums, I have the bass, and I have keys. And that's all on this first pattern. And I'm going to do one more here on this bottom one. And I had it as bells, but we're not going to use that. I'm going to go to what is called the templates, okay? And I kind of live here because with the templates, they're just really basic synths that you can control, super easy, right? The mono one I really like because you have wave choice. And then octave and a mixer. So you got like sub oscillator, oscillator. Right, so say we pick that one, and then you can add your own effects. So like delay, you know, all the stuff from Ableton's in here, but like, what is it? EQ, chorus, delay, dynamics, flanger, phaser, redux, reverb, and saturator. I'm going to put a delay on there, and I'm going to do it as a dotted eighth. Right, and let's say I mute my drums. Right, an octave up, you can just hit this little plus. Right, super easy, right? So this progression is super easy. Like it's 2 chords, right? I'm playing like it's a 6. Is that like a 2? Let's see. It's a 3. So 6, 3. All right. So the progression's super easy, right? And the development's going to come later. So when I say development, as I'm writing this, I'm not trying to get too complicated, okay? And I keep this very simple with the Move because this can get out of hand like super fast, or you can run out of tracks or something gets kind of dumb. But here's my trick, right? Just like with Elektron, use the next pattern, or you mix with the next pattern. But if I pick the next drum beat, I could just copy and paste that one, or I could like try to remember what I did. You know what I mean? Which was like something super easy, you know, it was just like that, right? The difference was this was the rim shot, where this I'm doing the snare, right? And also when I'm here, I'll duplicate that loop, I'll double it. The second time around, I'll make the snare do something, and then I'll duplicate it again, same thing. The 4th bar is the busy one. You hear that? So already in the next progression, I'm busier, right? The next thing is, again, instead of copying the bass line, I force myself to play it. So it sounds a little bit different, right? Now, it's not that hard of a bass line. Right? It's just super easy. But if I play it this time and I play different variants of it, you're not going to get bored by hearing the same loop every time I play the next scene. Okay? So trick from me with the move is the next scene I'm going to play live. Right, here we go. 2, 3, and. And I messed up, but I'm going to leave it and let's see what happens. I'm going to quantize it. And if you do automation, every clip could have different automation. So in this clip, I'm going to 2, 3, 4. Little automation. You can see the red because when you record on something, it's got red. It's telling you, okay? So red means record. So here we go. You should subscribe to this channel, but that's another cool channel as well, right? We know all these cool channels on YouTube, and you can learn a lot from synth people. A lot of us in the community are just trying to teach and show you what we do. A lot of times with me, I teach for Ableton, and I try to help people a lot of times learn really complicated things because that's what I like, signal flow, music writing. All right, but we're almost there. So we played our bass line a new way. The next thing is the Wurlitzer. We're going to play a little different this time. So let's see how we could possibly do that. I'm going to go to the next clip. 5, 5, 4, 2. Higher octave I'm going to go, right? If I messed up there, that's fine. Quantize it. Okay, synthesizers next, right? So you see, I kind of build this like blocks at a time as I move across. And we're going to listen to the difference after I play this next line between the first part and the second part. So I'm going to do this recording here. We're going to hit record. Pretty easy. Okay, so let's hear. The first one sounds like. And then the next scene. Okay, so I hear a lot of people complain they get stuck in a loop. Well, tip here is don't just copy and paste. When you make the next scene, force yourself to play the next parts, even if they are inherently the same thing to you. Why not? You know what I mean? Do it, right? Okay, so next trick. I want to keep this drum beat, right? But I want to change everything else. So my trick is I just hit the next scene with all my clips except drums, right? And I go to the piano track first, the Wurlitzer. I'm just making this up now, so it's like 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. Be like 2, 2, 2, 2. Oh, I messed it up there, kind of. It's okay. You can do undo with the back button, or you can go here and hit the X on the clip. Delete, right? And you can always undo. But right there, I just messed up, and I'm getting an idea where I'm like, 2, No, so. I kind of like that one. So let's see if I can do this. It's just like a build up. It's from 2 to 6. So 1, 2, 5, 6, right? 1, 2, 3, and. It's like a build like 1, 2, 3. Stuff. Here we go. Just made that up on the fly. Ready? Watch this. Here we go. Nah, that I don't like when I do that other note. That note is not supposed to be there. I'm practicing, right? I'm practicing. That's how you do it, right? So here we go. 3, 2. I like that note. So I made a little busy at the end of that second one, right? Because it's even there and chill. And I can automate that filter now, right? Record. Okay, another big reason I don't just copy and paste clips is because I don't want any of the automation data from the clip before to influence the next clip. And I find that to be just so boring, right? So like when you're watching me, you're seeing this move seems to be like enough for right now because I'm not writing any other parts. But give me a minute and I'll get to where I bring in some chords and I bring in extra drums, right? But the thing here in this next drum part is the ability to... I'm actually copying and pasting this drum part, and I'm going to just play some new drums. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it might be too sparse, but let's see. Yeah, I wanted more toms. That was pretty bad, but let's see what didn't turn out too bad. And I can shorten the decay of that sound. It's a little dominant in the mix, right? That's what I love about the sampler on push, is you can shorten sounds so they're not so dominant. Okay, so let's pretend now, for the sake of argument, I got 3 parts. This one. And this is what I like about the move, is it like forces me on the next scene to write completely different because I'm not choosing to just copy and paste everything I do, right? This is like a funk beat, so it's more like a break, you know. So like when I program in the Elektron world, just so everybody knows, it's like super easy, you know. There's another break beat, like if we were gonna mute, just like classic 808 over that other. Or we could just do like super easy, right? A lot of times I use that like a DJ would. Sometimes I'll mix to one kit, sometimes I'll mix to another kit, and it just like helps me have like variation, right? And in this instance, I'm playing around with key signatures, so instead of committing here to something, I'm letting this thing drive with the melody. And the next thing that I'm going to do is probably play into the lead. And you can just like play something like super annoying if you wanted like that. I think everybody's getting this idea that like, okay, the Move, when I start using it, I get so hyper focused on it because of the scenes. I think what's missing to some of us might be like the main track having like, the main track has like an EQ and like a compressor, right? But I wish there was like, instead of this knob saying like dry wet, what if they had that as like a switch that could be like a couple different effects? And I think what the XY has in it and then the Elektron stuff has in it is a way to control everything at the same time. Okay, the whole machine. And when I say that here, it's like when you hit function yes and you take a snapshot of like what's happening, and then you hold track and you turn a knob and it's on all the tracks and you're like really messing this thing down and it's screwed up. And you hit function no and it goes back to the original snapshot. So it's fun to do like a build up here, right? Or you hit the fill button and all of a sudden for a pattern, you get the fill, you know what I mean? When you hit this, that's what's going to happen. You get like a fill for a second, right? The XY has a tape on the main channel, and it also has step effects, okay? And the step effects are like a really big deal, right? They're like what make the machine kind of melt down, right? So I would say right now, I feel like that's what's missing in the Move world, that some people would be like, well, maybe that's what they don't like about the Move, right? The other thing is this compatibility issue. They're going to update this on 1.5 from what I've been reading, and that means it's going to actually work better with Midi, and I don't know what they're going to do as far as expanding that. And right now there's not a lot, like you could control it from something else, or you can control something else from it, but then syncing it becomes like you go into the weeds and it gets kind of crappy because you're like, this thing should talk to everything. Link, it does a great job. Talking to Ableton, it does a great job. But then downstream, it seems like when I'm trying to get it to connect on the backside of gear, it has a problem. When I'm using it with like the front end, when it's the clock maker, everybody else follows and there's no problems. So I would say that might be another part of this 1.5 update that we're looking for. It's always had slice mode. You know, that was something else that it always had, was a way to like slice everything up. But right now, the other thing is like, I don't think there's a way for me to press save on the template. Like this analog mono I just worked on, what was it? Is it shift and you hit the button? Options. Wait, let me see. Yeah, it was. Shift this, options, save preset. So it lets me save the preset after I put all this hard work into it, right? But then what sucks is it's analog mono 1 or analog mono 2 or analog mono. I can't rename it, and I can't name any of the tracks. It does get nested in the song that you're working on, which is smart. But then this ability to rename and the XY ability to rename start to become where the Move. I wish it had like a naming system, even if it was just like 6-word, 8-word naming system, you know? I know it's meant to be fast. I know it's not meant to be that way. It's a sketch pad. I get it. Okay, so I'll move on from that complaint. I think everyone's seeing, though, too, where these scenes, as soon as I go to the next one, I could write a whole new song. Like, each one of these pads could just be a different song, and if you were good enough at jamming, when you're in one of the drum tracks, you actually can... you actually can mute different drums. So like if you wanted the drum track to be dynamic when you're on it, see, I'm like playing the drum track, right? You can do that. You can mute things in, mute things out. If this was a song and you were DJing a little bit, you know, you could just be like bringing things in. Right? And you can unmute. And then if you're ready to be like, next song. Kind of seamless, right? But the problem is each scene can't change tempo. So unlike Ableton, we're stuck at the same tempo all the time here. So dynamically, you would have to just change songs, right? Which is like, boom. The problems here is this gear doesn't update. There's no program change. So in the Elektron world, I hit program change and one of the boxes listens to the other one. The Move won't do that. So there are some caveats to using it. And I think that's where it falls into the line of like, it's a sketch tool. It's not so much like a bring it to the party thing. I mean, it could be. If you make minimal techno, it's amazing. If you make ambient, it's amazing. If you make hip hop, it's amazing. I mean, this thing does great genre making stuff, but just like performing it might take a little bit of your creativity to make it pop. Where I think sometimes in the Elektron world, it's designed to perform. And it's designed to write a song. There's no song mode here, so when I'm in scenes, I can't tell the box to go through the scenes one through in order. I can't hit like global record and then perform and do like a quick recording. And I don't think that Note does that either. So, you know, when I was in meetings with everybody, the idea was that this is actually the Note software. The more you get into using this and you go play with Note, the layout of Move is an 8-track Note. You know, it's got 4 more tracks. So under the hood, I don't know if they're going to secretly unlock more tracks down the road. They say there's a lot in the hardware that's not being used. These are speculations. All right. So far, I think you saw the workflow. You saw how I kind of started using Move. I tried to perform with it yesterday, and I think I had a lot of success. But then I had to tone down how much I was using the Digitone. Right, I used it more. It was more the focus piece, and these guys kind of sat in the background as I made music on the Move. And I would say that like the other reason when I use Elektron gear, I like using my modular stuff, is because all of the sounds in Elektron have modular compartments: filter, amp, ADSR, oscillator control. And so if a sound is too overbearing, too harmonically rich, too much high end, it needs filtered. If it's wobbling too much, a lot of times in the Elektron world, in the modular world, my brain is smart enough and it's all on the surface. You're like, oh yeah, this step is like over modulating, or the LFO is going too fast. I can see the LED. It's very on the surface. And when people think modular is more complicated, I always say it's actually like dumber. It takes up more room. There's cables everywhere, but you can see each stage with your eyes. Where sometimes here my complaint is I don't know what these knobs do on every synth. And unless I use the same 8 synths or the same 4 things, then you have to familiarize yourself here with the no label thing. You have to touch each knob. And when you touch a knob, you can see what it says. So there are some inherent differences between performing with the instruments. I think that's where it gives me a little bit more anxiety, like to perform with it, where when I'm on the couch just kicking it, making mistakes, it's fine. These I feel more like a surgeon, like they're more precise. And that's kind of where today's stream was, to kind of talk about those differences. It was just to lay out like where my brain goes, and it was hopefully to help you clarify maybe why you see this appear on the streams and sometimes you don't. I really like Move as a creation device by itself, and I really like it as a controller for Ableton. So that's kind of been where this thing sits over on my desk and what it does, right? So I hope everybody's having a good Thursday. I have to go help my parents because they had a tree hit the house, and we got to take pictures for, oh my God, I got to go climb within the bearings of this house. This is going to be ridiculous. But it's going to be hours of work. But I hope everybody's having a good day. And if anybody has questions, you can always email me. I've gotten some great comments lately about some people enjoying the performances. So I wanted to say thank you to the audience that's listening to me perform and jam and leaving comments. I want to say thanks for all the people who have subscribed lately, because there still is a pretty nice influx of people watching the channel. And if you have friends out there that might be interested in some of the work I'm teaching or what I'm doing, please let them know that I exist. I hope everybody has a great day. It's May 8th. It is Thursday. And it's 61 degrees where I'm at. It's like almost 70. It's going to be 70 today. I'm going to go get some exercise before I got to go climb up into this roof. But like I said, I hope everyone has a great day. I hope you're being creative out there, so go make some music. I know I just made a terrible song. But that was just me messing around. I'm trying to mess with everybody. It's not bad, but it's not the greatest either, right? The other tip I'll leave you with on the move is every time I leave a blank pad, I'm happy because it's a mute. In time, not like the mute button. So now, see how the drums they fall down like on the clip, on the bar, right? That's a global quantize. This is a lot like Ableton in that sense. But I think everybody, if you need more tips or you need more help with Move, let me know if you're curious about getting into it. I think the fidelity is fantastic. The sampling in it is amazing. The chopping in it, I can't get enough. I'll cover that more in another stream, but today was just kind of talking about the differences and why you see it appear sometimes and not appear at other times. So, hopefully everybody's having a great day. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, go out and be creative.